All right. Nice to have you join us today for the 2024 retrospects. And today we'll be looking at politics, looking at political reforms and tax reforms in the country. My name is Ray Frederick, and joining me today is Comrade Omar Angebi, former governorship candidate of the Labour Party in Nasarawa State. He's also a media consultant, public commentator, and educationist. Good to have you, sir. Thanks for joining us.
The pleasure is mine. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, the last time we spoke was around May when we're marking 1 year anniversary of the president, and you spoke a lot
Precisely.
about the administration. But today we have you for another issue as we wind up 2024. We talk about retrospect, we're looking at the year in total. But our focus today is on state of the nation, and we'll be talking about politics, economics, and talking about the tax reform of the president. And we also cast our mind to 2025, what we should be expecting. So once again, I say welcome. Thanks for joining us, sir.
It's my pleasure.
Okay, sir, let's begin this way. As the year tried to wind up, a lot of politicking, we saw a lot of big wins from the opposition party joining the ruling party at a time when many Nigerians felt this is when the political parties should be able to give viable opposition to this ruling party. And we have the likes like this in Boala that joined the president, and now he's a spokesperson for the president. And
Yes,
before
sir.
that, he actually made a statement that even if you give the president 30 years in office, nothing will change. And all of a sudden, he moved the other way around. So just look generally, how has it been like politically for Nigerians and Nigeria in 2024?
Well, once again, thank you for having me. The issue of politics in Nigeria, our democracy, while even at this stage, some people still refer to it as nascent. And you begin to ask, at what point will this nascency develop to maturity? And one will begin to have a culture of democracy that abides by the rules and principles that opens the doors for everyone to participate. Like it is said, it is a system whereby the majority should have its say, its way, and the minority voice should also have its say. But with our country, the problem that we're having, and I've been reflecting on this for some time now, I tend to think that the absence of political ideology was natural, and it is something that should be, given the circumstances of the country. What I mean here is, if you don't have anything to cry for or to look out for, what makes you want to go out looking for that thing? Nigerians and Nigeria has existed in the concept of we being in a comfort zone, maybe deliberately by the military. They have made life, so to speak, at some point, comfortable for Nigerians that people don't quite understand the concept of democracy. Right after the struggles for independence, those proponents, Pan-Africanists, like the Azikiwe, Nnamdi Azikiwe, the Sardauna, the Awolowo, the Herbert Macaulay, all of them, on those terms, the struggle was about getting the country independent, just like other African countries, Ghana, Kenya, all that were struggling from their own ends too. But as soon as we secured the independence, now drawing people together to understand the concept of democracy, to run the system, that was where we had the fault. And around that time, it developed into an ideology of regionalism and religion and ethnicity. And those are the strong ideological basis on which the politics has evolved up to this point. And coming back to the main subject matter now, it explains why you can have someone like the presidential spokesperson, like Gwala, after saying what he has said in the opposition party, ended up coming to the ruling party. It's a two-way thing. One, for him going there, and two, for the presidency accepting him there in spite of all he has said are two issues one should consider. But generally speaking, on the terms of people cross-carpeting, changing from one political party to the other, realigning,
Okay, sir.
or
Hello, sir. You can go on with
yes,
your thoughts. Just go on with your
yes,
thoughts. Let me focus on
okay,
something, but just keep talking.
all right. So on the basis of Nigerians, either uh, the opposition party, especially those that have secured elections and won from the opposition party, all jumping into the ship of the ruling party, goes down to what I've said on the terms that there was no basis for ideology. But now, given the kind of experiences we've had or we're going through, you can see people are beginning to identify and understand that, well, we need to do certain things in order for our democracy to mature. And doing those things is now beginning to create that consciousness in the minds of Nigerians generally, whether those concepts or ideas of region, ethnicity, religion is still working in their minds, but it is beginning to form a definite ideological direction that I believe with time, people will not just look at you when you are contesting on the basis of whether you are Yoruba, whether you are Hausa, or whether you are Igbo. They will have to ask you in concrete terms, what exactly are you going to provide to us in terms of, if you come into power government, what are you going to be doing about the hardship we are facing? What is your idea about subsidy removal? What is your idea about security and all this? And I think we're getting there gradually.
Thank you very much, sir. When you talk about the concept of democracy and ideology now, and when we are getting to the point where people will have to ask critical questions like in subsidy, where are we going? What's your take on it? The economy situation we're going through, how can you bring soccer to Nigerians and the rest of them? So
Exactly.
as
Exactly.
we wind up 2024, what are those high points for you this year politically? Things that you think we got right and the ones you feel maybe next year we shouldn't repeat them.
You see, it's like it has been a roller coaster experience. When you are waking up to one news today, the next morning another one happens. But generally speaking, there are issues of insecurity, dealing with terrorism and insurgency. There's a crisis among the states, typically that of the crisis between the governor of Rivers State and the former governor, current minister. There are the issues of the economy, with the exchange rate between the dollar and the naira keep not having some kind of stability, and so many other things that are there. But the one that registered immediately on my mind is that a major action taken by the federal government to take the issue of local government autonomy to the Supreme Court and secure judgment is something worthy of note, and it has actually set another tone in terms of the relationship between states and local governments, as well as the states and the federal government, which is beginning to appear that as we progress, it will become so evident and clear that the relationship between the states and the federal government will go into some kind of redefinition. There is the disaster in terms of natural disasters, those dam breaks in Maiduguri and other places, attacks wrongly done in communities and all that. So it just goes to say briefly, this is what has happened, but not forgetting what is currently on the table the issue of the tax reform
I
and
think
some other ones.
we are going to go into the tax reform fully, but let's
Yes.
deal with the local government autonomy that you just mentioned. This is one area a lot of people have accused governors that this is one of the really the issue that has slowed down development in Nigeria because the local government system was totally out of place. But with the Supreme Court judgment giving autonomy, financial autonomy to the local government, a lot of people still believe that nothing will really come out of this as long as the state governors are the ones conducting the elections. So what can you say about this?
Well, I don't tend to agree to that notion. I don't think I agree with the opinion that nothing will come out of it. Something has already come out of it. And what is that? With that pronouncement, uh, certain states that are notorious for not conducting local government elections have swiftly conducted local government elections. Even though you may question the modalities and the method they employed, but the point is that something has been done. It means that they recognize the powers of the laws. The next step would be to fine tune it so that those loopholes can be blocked too, and we would have the impact, desired impact in the grassroots stages of the governance, which is the local government. But be that as it may, I still want to believe the pronouncement by the Supreme Court of the financial autonomy. It also means that any local government chairman who allows himself to be used by anybody, whether it is the governor or any powerful individual within the community, knows that eventually you'll have to have some kind of rendezvous with the financial checking body, the EFCC and other bodies that deal with corruption in the country. So, and these things, once allocations are made to local governments, you should expect that it will be disclosed to the public, and every citizen has the moral right to question his local government chairman on how those funds were applied. And within the local government too, I've also suggested in discussions that it is up to the local government body, the NULGE, local government employee bodies, to also monitor and ensure that the right thing is done by their chairman. So we need to be patient about this, and we need to also contribute to the success of this. But rightly too, where the crisis still remains is that one, part of the clauses in our constitution has sort of given certain powers to state houses of assembly to be making the laws for local government administration and doing some kind of checks. And you would observe that it appears that these state houses of assembly tend to also become part of the situation or the problems here, whereby they are beginning to treat local government officials, executives, as if they are errand boys or so,
Appointees of the governors.
warning them harm. So the thing is that they keep intimidating or giving suggestive remarks of intimidation that if the local government doesn't do this or that, they would sanction them. I think just recently, one of the states in the South, the state assembly appears has dissolved or suspended all the local governments, which is quite against the concept of our democracy, knowing full well that these local government executives were also elected, their councillors and their chairmen. And just because you make the laws doesn't give you the right to now apply some kind of intimidation in the process of the lawmaking. Then we would also ask that the judiciary needs to also sit well to apply its own autonomy and freedom in defining the rules that these lawmakers make vis-a-vis relationship and lawmaking that governs local government administration.
Thank you very much, sir, on your thoughts on the local government autonomy. And also, during the presidential broadcast in October, the president didn't mention that he was going to set up a youth confab. And from feelers we are getting, it seems the confab may likely come up in February. And a lot of people have questioned the modality that they may deploy because the president states that these people will be appointed by politicians in their local, from their constituencies to represent them. And a lot of people feel that you will still pick the same people that are part of the problem. Are we going to have genuine people to come and speak? Is the confab really necessary to have young people? Considering the fact that we have a lot of conferences that the reports are just lying down there and no one seems to dust them to use it.
The wisdom behind which Mr. President in that speech decided that they needed such a confab, the government would have maybe felt it needed to come close to the youth, being one important segment of the society, vibrant, and they have the capacity to either encourage your government to succeed or frustrate it if you go out of line. Not forgetting incidences in Kenya and other countries in the world where you have seen the impact of the youth, like for instance in Senegal, where it is the efforts of the youth that brought in the democratic government now of Basiru Diomaye Faye and all that. So given those kind of vibes across the world might have informed the federal government under Tinubu to also begin to realize, to synergize or engage the youth of the country. Well, the concerns or questions whether the modality for bringing them together is right or not, you leave that entirely to the states and the local governments, the stakeholders, and everybody who should also participate in the decision making. But if they are sidelined, like we say in the democracy, they should also express it to the world that this is how this thing went. But let the engagement come. Out of the total that you have there, we can't say that 100% of them will be applied negatively. There will be some that will get away with something. And out of that little number or more, the process of change is still going to happen, in my opinion.
Thank you very much for your thoughts, sir. And let's take the bar a bit higher now. We've been speaking on politics, reviewing 2024, and let's go to economics. You did wrote an article. I don't know if I saw the part 2, but I actually read the part 1, and I made my submission too. You highlighted a lot of things, and you also called that the North should like play a respective, as in, should I use the word respectful game as in to the president? But before you answer that part of my question, let's look at the bill generally, because for a layman out there, for someone that is not inclined economically and the rest of them, a lot of people don't really know what this bill is all about. So in the simplest of language, can you just tell us what the bill really is? So I think we'll be fast on this one now.
All right, thank you. The idea behind the tax reform bill being proposed by Mr. President Bola Tinubu, which has already, at the level of the National Assembly, scaled through the second reading, came up, and there are about 4 parts to the bill. Like you said, in a nutshell, one is looking at the tax administration in the country. They need to fine-tune it. One is trying to change the federal inland revenue structure to sort of work with the reality that it is not only a federation, a federal government, it is a federation. So states are also part of the beneficiaries. So bringing it to Nigerian Revenue Service, there is just about 4 of them. But the tax reform that we're talking about tries to change some of these old laws, methods over taxes by either state, local government, and the federal, conflict on who gets what, how much is taxed, whether and looking at the segment of the society that should be taxed, which in that bill appears to say that the country is overtaxing the poor. They need to change gear a bit and extend those taxes to the more richer bodies, individual and corporate bodies, so that it would make the economy, improve the economy. So in a nutshell, that is it. And then the issue of the VAT to value added tax, that is going to see some modifications. At the moment, where the VAT is 7.5% from the previous 5%. And the argument is that it is from the source, from those corporate institutions where their headquarters are based, that the main deductions should go, and all that, an issue largely that has incurred the wrath of the governors of the northern part of the country, saying that it is not fair to them, given the distribution of corporate organizations or bodies, companies that are more concentrated in particularly Lagos and is it Rivers State, and so they are questioning that and other tax incentives that they feel it's either it should be delayed given the nature of the region where hardship and poverty is growing by the day, based on also the policies of the withdrawal set a number of situations, economic situations for the citizens of the country, and largely individuals and people of the northern region. So I was writing in that article saying that it is the confrontation aspect that I feel should be downplayed by in the north, and it should be more engaging academically and socially, such that if there are issues that you find they are not right, you should gather your experts, gather people to go and discuss them intellectually, instead of the kind of campaign we are seeing and the propaganda, which tends to concentrate on the president himself and his policies and his administration, that the region has provided the majority of the votes, and the government of Tinubu doesn't appear to be favoring them in appointing and all those issues. That was where I felt the politics was going too regional. It is deepening the divisions within the regions with the capacity of keeping us far apart, which is not going to help us in developing this country.
Wow, that's very insightful. So, is there a part 2? Is the part 2 actually out? Because I didn't
Yes,
see
I
that.
did. Maybe after this, you would go back to it.
I check.
There's another even post beyond that of the taxes. We've gone
Yeah,
other issues.
I saw
Organized.
something on the regional leaders and the rest of them.
Yes, yes.
So that's very interesting stuff. So now
Thank you.
someone listening to you now, maybe we'll be able to pick one or two now that the tax is actually talking about VAT, talking about some of the laws that are updated and trying to reform them. From your submission, it's obvious this is a good bill.
Yes, it is.
The good bill. And but we see the governors, like you said, who are out fighting, should I say, against the bill, that is not going to favor the North, just as you have highlighted. We have the governor of Borno State speaking against it. We have the governor of Bauchi State only recently speaking against it too. So just like you said, it seems to be like a regional fight now. And we saw the senator from Bayelsa State coming out to speak for the bill. But while listening to the former chairman of APC, Adams Oshomole, who is also a senator now, He
Yeah.
further threw more light and said even the former governor of Bayelsa State missed the line in some areas. But I don't know if you actually watched that interview. But back to my initial question, it has nothing to do with region. Is the fear for the immediate term, so we should be looking at the long term of what this bill will bring.
Well, what should rightly be done is to look at the interests of the country first, Nigeria first, like Donald Trump will say, America first. And then ask the question, those agitating against the bill, is it truly in the interest of the general population or in the interest of a certain individuals? These are the things. And for those of us who are literate enough, we should also take time out and go through the document and decide for ourselves whether the argument is cogent or not. I was reading further while trying to put the article together. There was one of these experts that has put something, and I realized it could be part of the reason why you find such opposition. He has pointed out, I've forgotten the name of the person, but he has pointed out that by the time that law, the tax reform bill, comes to effect, especially where it states that the government, the taxes reform bill is asking an upgrade. Now, presently, if you are an individual running a business and you make a turnover of around 25 million, you are
5
taxed.
million.
Yes, but it now doubled it by saying you
50
have to make
million.
50 million as an individual to be taxed. And I think for the corporate body, is it 100 million or was it 500? I can't remember now. But do you know that once that come to effect, it empowers the financial institutions, banks, to disclose your how much you make and for the taxes to be able to be realized. So I was telling somebody that it will make the work of even the EFCC easy in this regard. If, for instance, disclosing your personal income or whatever amount of money you have becomes an issue because some people, some powerful individuals, make it silent in that area. You see, this will now make it effective that you must disclose that. And the question will follow, how did you come about this large asset? So I think if you look at it in some perspective, it's as if it is the powerful, whether politicians, individuals, I cannot actually tell you exactly their sources of income. And you know, there are other criminal activities that enrich people, like the business of drugs in the society now. It's also an issue. I think some of them are realizing, with due apologies to the legitimate argument that individuals, governors, regions may put, which of course, the idea of putting the bill to the National Assembly is for people to discuss this, which I'm also advocating. But there are other individuals and elements would have understood the impending threat that this bill may bring. So that is just the issue. If the northern governors are arguing that the bill, the concentration of these companies in Lagos, they should also follow up with the argument and how they are going to improve on the current situation that companies and industries are not in the north. Because if you suspend the bill, it doesn't solve that problem yet. And it is not going to be like that forever. The country needs to have some sources of income in order to develop, because taxes are collected for development, for projects and all this. Yes, so they should also follow that up by answering the question, how come we've lost out in these industries? And how are we going to bring these industries together so that in the future, if another person comes and wants to revive the bill, that is, if this one doesn't scale through, that we wouldn't have that problem and look at other threatening issues affecting the region.
Wow. That's a very big question, and we hope they find answers to them. We have less than 5 minutes to round up. We have a lot to talk about, but we are limited by time, and we'll have time to talk more on this. But before we go, let's just project 2025. What are the expectations? What are your expectations for 2025, and what should Nigerians be looking out for?
Well, I think 2025 is going to be the little chance that we have in the first and second quarter to organize ourselves. Otherwise, it will affect even the administration when attention begins to shift to politics. When politicians begin to prepare how to take over power, and attention on policies and programs of the government will now be suspended, or they will be applied mildly in order not to hurt anybody. So that is the threat that next year brings. We're hoping that within the first year and the second year, the present administration would have substantially made progress. But all these crises here and there have stalled it, whether it is labor, government relations, whether it is politics and all that. And you see, we just have a little window next year to be able to get something out of the administration before politics takes over the entire attention. There is also this crisis you see between the relationship between these other neighboring countries, and then the role, the accusation that they are pointing to Nigeria for being also part of it. If care is not taken, if it is not properly handled, we may have serious distractions in terms of insurgency, in terms of even threats to regional, international regional conflicts here within the coast and all that. So that is the challenge. We are hoping also that at the state levels and all that, the local government and the state local government of course would settle down more comfortably, and we'll begin to hear some kind of vibrations coming from there. But in political terms, we can also expect all these attempts to merge, to organize a formidable opposition party that would unseat the current one based on their displeasures. We're also expecting that there will be some kind of realignment by the government in order to see that they attend to the issues that the Nigerians are raising. So we just keep our fingers crossed. The crystal ball is there, but it's not too clear at the moment for us to actually be too definite about what is going to happen.
Wow. It's been a very interesting discussion having you, sir. But before I let you go, the issue in Rivers State is not over. I think we can spare 1 or 2 minutes. What come out of the quagmire in Rivers State? Are we seeing any settlements soon?
Well,
politically or through the courts?
Yeah, the relationship there is largely dependent on what happens to Wike eventually. You would see that PDP is trying to find a solution to the stagnation that they have, still not having a definite national chairman based on those issues. If eventually if they are able to organize to get a national chairman, depending on where it sways to, if it sways too powerfully to the side of Wike, you know that it's going to still be a hard time for Fubara to keep the state together. But if Wike loses out there, and the last alternative is for him maybe to throw in the towel and join openly to go to the APC, then you would see a more organized River State under the powers of the governor, trying to confront Wike and trying to block him.
Even if Wike moves to APC in River State, the APC is not easy for him to go in because we have the Amechi there. So I'm not sure Amechi will want to leave the APC.
Yeah. You see, if Wike switches camp to the Amechi camp, Amechi will want to also establish the fact that they run the party there, and nobody will come and push them aside.
Yeah.
You will find them also trying to contribute to the situation, either to lean heavily on the side of the governor and then ask the APC at the national level where their position stands. And if they don't get anything favorable, they may decide to also be part of the voices that would want to come up with a more formidable third force party that
I
would
think I
they
will
may not.
pause you there because we are running out of time.
All right, all
They
right.
will want to know their stake in the party. If not, they'll form a formidable party against the ruling party.
Exactly.
That's where I'll be
Exactly.
leaving you with the thought. So thank you very much, sir. We'll be speaking with Comrade Umar Angebi, a former governorship candidate of the Labour Party in Nasarawa State. He was also one of the former IPAC chairman of all political parties in the state. He's also a media consultant, public commentator, and an educationist. Thank you very much, sir, for honoring our
Thank you for
invitation
having,
to speak to us.
wishing you a wonderful new year, a prosperous one too.
Thank you very much, sir. I do have a nice time. Thank you.